So she is history said. Once upon a time, in the marvelous land of Persia, there lived a king named Shahryar. He ruled the land with the help of his trusted minister, the Grand Vizier. Now the Grand Vizier had a daughter called Scheherazade. He loved her dearly. She was beautiful and clever. It was unusual for a girl to study in those days. But but Scheherazade knew the work of all the great poets. King Shahryar's wife ran away with his slaves. When Shahryar found this out, he flew into the terrible rage. The only punishment for such a crime was death. Shahryar ordered the soldier to ride after his wife and kill her. Everybody, everyone was horrified, but law was very strict. If I ever take another wife, I'll have her strangled the next morning, cried the king, mad with grief. King Shashman went home and King Shahryar was left alone. Sometimes he was sad, and sometimes he became very angry. The Grand Vizier tried to find way to keeping the king amused. He brought musicians and dancing girls to the court, but the king just looked bored and waved them away. Whatever will I do? Said the Grand Vizier to his daughter. No one can amuse the king. What he needs is a wife. But every young woman in the land trembles with fear all the thought of marrying him. He needs someone new, said Shaghaddar. What about the famous Chinese acrobat? So the Grand Vizier sent an acrobat. He twirled and bounced like a ball, but the king only looked cross. It's no use, said the Grand Vizier to his daughter. He felt rather nervous, because some day the king might get angry with him too. As for our great poet, read the king, said the Scheherazade, that may calm this spirit. And so the great poet was brought to court. He read his own poet, then he worshipped great poets of the past. But the old fool, I'm in prison before I cut out this tongue, showed the king impatiently. Scheherazade was very worried. She went into the garden to talk to the old teacher. Nothing seems to please the king, she said. I am in my wits and I hope for my poor father. You were always good at telling his stories, said the teacher. Perhaps the king would enjoy hearing them. Scheherazade went to their father. Tomorrow you must take me to the king. You, my daughter? Never, cried the Grand Vizier. But Scheherazade was firm. It's the only way to be free from fears, she said. The next day matched again his will. The Grand Vizier took his daughter to the palace. The king was reading his paper, which always put him in a bad mood. And who give you God today? He said crossly and stirred his paper. May it please your majesty, I have brought you my daughter. The king looked up from his paper. Your daughter? She said, "Suck." The girl gently beauty charmed the king. That evening he said to her, come let us sit and talk. Scheherazade began to tell a story about a poor young man in a magic lamp. The king was delighted. No one had ever talked to him like this before. On and on into the night she spent her days. Then she began another story. But by this time it was almost morning. I must go now, she said. But you will come back tomorrow night, asked the king anxiously. The next night, Scheherazade ended her story, then told another and another for 1,001 nights. She told this story. The king was always in the good mood now. At last, he knew that he loved Scheherazade. Gentle storyteller, I take back my terrible vow, he said. Will you be my wife? With all my heart, she replied. Scheherazade's stories were written down, and they have delighted readers to this very day.